When Doctor Who began in 1963, the BBC was prone to wiping Doctor Who and other shows' episodes in order to reuse tapes on other shows. This makes things really difficult if you're trying to marathon every single Doctor Who episode ever made. With 97 individual episodes missing from the BBC archives, it is a physical impossibility to watch every episode ever, and sadly, it probably always will be. There are ways around this, however. The soundtrack to every episode is available thanks to fan recordings, so many have listened to them in order to experience every episode. However, as these stories were written for television, it was almost impossible to listen to Doctor Who via audio, as it would just not make sense, as you need the visuals to help. This doesn't include Big Finish, as their audios are written to be listened to, so they will be structured in such a way. The Lost stories, on the other hand, were written for television, so naturally you don't get the full experience of the episode. Another idea came with the VHS release of The Crusade, where William Russell reprised his role of Ian Chesterton, recounting the events to the viewer. It would be the episode, but when there were missing parts, it would cut back to an older Ian, who would explain what happens next. It is a nice idea. William Russell obviously looks like he's having a good time of it. The only problem would be that it could take you out of the story a bit, where you are only told what happens rather than shown it. Big Finish also tried to save lost stories with their bizarre release of Sharda, starring Paul McGann instead of Tom Baker, who at this point didn't do Big Finish audios. I haven't heard it, so I can't say if they do it justice or not, but it does seem quite an odd idea, especially when you're asked the question of whether it's canon or not. The Doctor Who DVD line has helped solve this problem by releasing stories with, for instance, 5 out of 6 parts surviving, and the missing episode would be animated. Since then, they have also done releases where the animation is one of the main focuses. Power of the Daleks was completely missing, and yet in 2016, To Entertain and the BBC animated all 6 parts and released it on DVD. It was alright, the animation was a bit shabby but looked good enough. The next year they completed Sharda, again, this time with animation, and the original cast recording the missing dialogue. The animation on this one looked even better. With the evidence that the animation is getting better, and the fact that every classic Doctor Who episode has now been released on DVD, it seems pretty obvious to me that to keep the Doctor Who DVD range alive, animation is the best option. We know it can work, so let's make it work. It would be not only the first chance to see those missing episodes, but also it would give a better look at the surviving episodes, which haven't been able to be released properly because the rest of it is missing. There is the box set Lost in Time, which had the surviving episodes which were deemed too obscure to give an individual release. But the problem is you'd need to know the whole story in order to properly get the full experience. You can still enjoy it, because it's Doctor Who, and I can enjoy any Doctor Who, even when it gets a bit naff. But to properly understand a story, you need more than just part 3 of 6. So, by animating the lost stories and releasing them with the parts that already exist, we can finally experience the closest to what it would be like to actually see them for the first time, and we don't have to try and decipher the unknown region of the soundtrack releases. I'm sure that fans would be happy if this happens, even if it takes a while to release them. There was around a year between Power and Sharda, but if the BBC saw this as a working idea, then they would probably start throwing more money at it, and better animations may come quicker. So by around 2025, maybe the Doctor Who DVD shelf will finally be complete. Until they actually find parts of Power of the Daleks and have to release them. This would actually be a problem. Imagine the annoyance of the animators if they just spent months animating Marco Polo for parts 1, 2 and 3 to turn up all at once. However, there is also the very high chance that Marco Polo will never be found, so we can animate that one right away. Of course, however, knowing the BBC, they'd probably just release Dimensions in Time or a fix of Zontarans or something. Or knowing their incompetence, We will get Dreamland Special Edition, because that's obviously what the fans want, isn't it, BBC? See you next week for a discussion about what actually is canon in Doctor Who. Prepare for controversy.